What if the biggest threat to your peace wasn't your job, your finances, or even your enemies? What if it was the people you allow into your life every single day? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, believed that the company you keep quietly shapes your character, your thoughts, and ultimately your destiny. A single toxic person can steal your focus, weaken your self-discipline, cloud your judgment, and leave you emotionally exhausted without you ever realizing it. The most dangerous people aren't always loud. They don't always attack you directly. They smile, they flatter you, they make excuses. They distract you from your purpose while convincing you they're on your side. That's why the Stoics didn't just teach you how to endure difficult people. They taught you how to recognize them before they could influence your mind. Because if you can't control who enters your inner circle, you'll struggle to control your emotions, master your mind, or build the mental resilience needed for a meaningful life. In this video, you'll discover 7 dangerous types of people that Marcus Aurelius warned every wise person to avoid. We'll explore powerful lessons from Stoic philosophy, the Marcus Aurelius teachings, Seneca quotes, and Epictetus lessons, revealing why these personalities quietly destroy your inner peace, sabotage your personal growth, and prevent true self-mastery. Some of these people may already be sitting at your dinner table, working beside you, or even staring back at you in the mirror. Stay until the end, because the 7th person is the most dangerous of all, and recognizing them could completely transform the way you live, think, and protect your peace. Let's begin. Person 1. The constant complainer. The first person Marcus Aurelius would urge you to avoid is the one who complains about everything but changes nothing. At first, they don't seem dangerous. They're simply venting. They always have a reason why life is unfair, why other people are to blame, why success belongs to someone else, or why the world is working against them. Spend enough time around them, however, and something subtle begins to happen. Their mindset becomes contagious. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that our peace does not depend on external events, but on the judgments we make about them. This is one of the central ideas of Stoic philosophy. While we cannot control every circumstance, we always have some control over our response. The constant complainer rejects this responsibility. Instead of asking, "What can I do?" they ask, "Who can I blame?" That difference changes everything. The Stoics believe that every complaint reinforces a habit of helplessness. Every excuse strengthens the belief that life happens to you rather than through your choices. Over time, that mindset erodes your confidence, weakens your mental resilience, and makes it harder to remain calm under pressure. Imagine trying to build discipline while surrounded by someone who insists that discipline doesn't matter. Imagine pursuing personal growth while hearing every day that effort is pointless because the system is unfair. Even if you disagree with them, their negativity slowly chips away at your determination. This is why Marcus Aurelius constantly examined his own thoughts before criticizing the world. He understood that your greatest battle is not against difficult circumstances, but against a defeated mindset. The same lesson appears throughout Seneca quotes. He warned that we often suffer more in imagination than in reality. Complainers live inside that imagined suffering. They magnify every inconvenience until it becomes an excuse for inaction. That doesn't mean you should abandon people who are genuinely struggling. Compassion is a Stoic virtue. But compassion is different from allowing another person's negativity to become the soundtrack of your life. A wise person listens with empathy, offers help where possible, and then returns to action. A complainer listens only for new reasons to remain stuck. If you want inner peace, learn to recognize the difference. Because every minute spent absorbing endless complaints is a minute stolen from becoming the person you're capable of becoming. And the next type of person is even more dangerous, not because they complain, but because they quietly convince you to betray your own values. Person 2. The manipulator the second person Marcus Aurelius would tell you to avoid is the manipulator. Unlike the complainer, the manipulator rarely reveals their true intentions. They don't control you with force, they control you with emotion. They know exactly what to say to make you doubt yourself, feel guilty, or question your instincts. One day they flatter you. The next, they criticize you just enough to make you seek their approval. They create confusion because confused people are easier to influence. This is precisely why Marcus Aurelius' teachings place such a strong emphasis on guarding the mind. He understood that your greatest possession is your ability to think clearly. The moment someone begins directing your emotions instead of your reason, they begin directing your life. The manipulator thrives on emotional reactions. They want you angry instead of thoughtful, fearful instead of rational, dependent instead of independent. That is why Epictetus' lessons repeatedly remind us that no one has power over our minds unless we surrender it. Other people may insult you, deceive you, or pressure you, but they cannot control your judgment unless you allow them to. Think about how many lives have been shaped by someone else's manipulation. Friendships destroyed by gossip, careers abandoned because of fear, relationships maintained out of guilt rather than respect. Manipulators rarely attack your strengths. They search for your insecurities. They study your desire to be accepted, your fear of rejection, or your need to please others. Then they quietly use those weaknesses against you. The Stoic response is not revenge. It is awareness. When your decisions are guided by reason instead of emotional pressure, manipulation loses its power. You begin to master your mind, control your emotions, and practice the kind of emotional mastery that no manipulator can easily penetrate. This is ancient wisdom that remains just as relevant today. Social media, workplaces, friendships, and even families can become places where emotional manipulation flourishes. The only lasting defense is a disciplined mind grounded in timeless wisdom and self-mastery. The more clearly you see people, the less easily they can control you. And the third person may be the most deceptive so far, because they don't try to control your emotions. They quietly drain your ambition until you settle for a life far beneath your potential. Person 3. The comfort seeker, the third person Marcus Aurelius would warn you to avoid, is the comfort seeker. This person isn't necessarily lazy. In fact, they may appear responsible, friendly, and even successful on the surface. But beneath that image lies a dangerous belief. Avoid discomfort at all costs. They discourage bold decisions. They question every ambitious goal. They tell you to play it safe, don't take the risk, or be satisfied with what you have. At first, their advice sounds reasonable. But over time, you realize they're not protecting your future, they're protecting their own comfort. Marcus Aurelius understood that growth is born from adversity, not convenience. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your character. Every setback is a chance to practice Stoic wisdom. And every difficult moment is another step towards self-mastery. The comfort seeker sees obstacles as reasons to quit. The Stoic sees them as opportunities to become stronger. This is the difference between living reactively and living intentionally. Ask yourself, how many dreams have been abandoned because someone whispered, "It's too hard"? How many businesses were never started because a friend insisted the timing wasn't right? How many extraordinary lives became ordinary simply because people chose comfort over courage? The Stoics believed that voluntary discomfort builds freedom. They deliberately practiced simplicity, endured hardship without complaint, and trained themselves to remain calm under pressure. Why? Because they knew that a person who depends on comfort becomes a slave to circumstances. This idea echoes throughout Seneca quotes, where he encourages preparing the mind for hardship before hardship arrives. When you willingly embrace discomfort, fear loses its grip on you. The comfort seeker, however, does the opposite. They normalize procrastination. They glorify mediocrity. They convince themselves, and everyone around them, that staying the same is safer than changing. Eventually, that mindset becomes contagious. Without realizing it, you stop taking risks. You stop pursuing personal growth. You stop trying to build discipline because comfort feels easier than progress. Marcus Aurelius would remind you that your purpose is not to seek the easiest path, but the most honorable one. Every day presents a choice, temporary comfort or lasting character. The greatest achievements in life are rarely comfortable. They require sacrifice. They demand consistency. They test your resolve. And they reward those who refuse to let comfort become their prison. Protect your ambition from people who mistake comfort for happiness. Because the next person is even more dangerous, not because they keep you comfortable, but because they quietly poison your perception of everyone around you. Person 4, the gossip and rumor spreader. The fourth person Marcus Aurelius would tell you to avoid is the gossip. This person always seems to have a story. They know everyone's secrets. They criticize people behind their backs. They spread rumors disguised as concern. And somehow, every conversation turns into an opportunity to judge someone who isn't there to defend themselves. At first, it can feel entertaining. Human curiosity naturally draws us toward drama, but the Stoics recognized that gossip is far more destructive than it appears. It corrupts your attention. It fills your mind with trivial matters instead of meaningful ones. It replaces wisdom with speculation. Marcus Aurelius consistently reminded himself to focus on his own character rather than obsess over the faults of others. That is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Your energy is limited. Every moment spent discussing another person's life is a moment taken away from improving your own. The gossip doesn't just spread information, they spread distrust. If they speak carelessly about others when they're absent, what do you think they'll say about you when you leave the room? That question alone reveals why wise people guard their associations. The teachings of Epictetus emphasize that our attention should remain fixed on what is within our control, our actions, our judgments, and our responses. Gossip distracts you from all three. Instead of pursuing mindset transformation, you become consumed by the mistakes and opinions of people you cannot control. This is why gossip is so dangerous. It feels harmless. But it slowly trains your mind to seek faults instead of virtues, to compare instead of improve, to criticize instead of create. Over time, this habit erodes your inner peace. You become suspicious, emotionally reactive, and mentally scattered. Rather than cultivating mental resilience, you begin carrying emotional burdens that never belonged to you. True Marcus Aurelius teachings encourage a different path. Speak less. Observe more. Judge yourself before judging others. Let your reputation be built on integrity, not information. The person who constantly talks about others rarely has time to transform themselves. The person who quietly develops their own character doesn't need gossip to feel important. Remember this timeless truth. If someone's favorite topic is other people's flaws, one day you will become their favorite topic as well. Distance yourself with respect, protect your peace, and continue walking the path of ancient wisdom, the path that leads to emotional mastery, lasting character, and wisdom for life. Because the fifth person doesn't spread rumors. They spread doubt, and if you're not careful, they'll convince you to abandon your purpose before you've even discovered your true potential. Person 5. The envious saboteur. The fifth person Marcus Aurelius would urge you to avoid is the one who secretly envies your progress. This person doesn't always oppose you openly. In fact, they may applaud your success in public while quietly hoping you never surpass them. They smile when you're comfortable, but become strangely distant the moment you begin to grow. Your victories make them uncomfortable because every step forward you take reminds them of the steps they refuse to take themselves. Envy is one of the most destructive emotions because it disguises itself so well. It rarely announces its presence. Instead, it appears as subtle criticism. backhanded compliments, constant comparisons, unexpected discouragement, and carefully timed negativity just when your confidence begins to rise. Marcus Aurelius understood that another person's opinion should never become the measure of your worth. One of the greatest lessons in Stoic philosophy is that your character is built from your own actions, not from the approval or resentment of others. The envious person wants your attention fixed on them instead of your purpose. They celebrate your failures because failure restores the balance they secretly crave. Have you ever noticed how some people question every decision you make only after you start succeeding? When your goals were small, they supported you. When your ambitions grew, so did their skepticism. Suddenly, they have endless reasons why your idea won't work, why your dream is unrealistic, why your efforts are a waste of time. The Stoics recognized this pattern long before the modern world. Seneca quotes repeatedly remind us that comparing ourselves with others robs us of contentment and clarity. The envious person lives in that comparison every day, measuring their value against someone else's achievements instead of improving their own life. Don't become angry with them. Pity them. Because envy is its own punishment. A person consumed by jealousy can never experience genuine inner peace. They are too busy watching someone else's race to run their own. Your responsibility is not to convince them. Your responsibility is to continue your journey with quiet confidence. Protect your vision, protect your focus, protect your mental resilience. The more committed you become to personal growth, the more you'll discover that not everyone celebrating beside you is celebrating for you. Sometimes the strongest response is silence. Sometimes the greatest victory is refusing to let another person's jealousy distract you from your mission. Because when you master your mind, the opinions of the envious lose their power. And that brings us to perhaps the most exhausting person of all, the one who never takes responsibility for anything. Person 6. The blame shifter. The sixth person Marcus Aurelius would warn you to avoid is the blame shifter. Nothing is ever their fault. If they fail, someone else caused it. If they arrive late, circumstances are to blame. If relationships fall apart, everyone else is unreasonable. If opportunities disappear, the world is unfair. No matter what happens, responsibility is always placed somewhere else. This mindset is dangerous because responsibility is the foundation of growth. Without it, improvement becomes impossible. Marcus Aurelius constantly examined his own actions before criticizing others. Every evening, he reflected on his choices, asking himself where he could become wiser, calmer, and more disciplined. This practice lies at the heart of Marcus Aurelius' teachings and remains one of the most powerful tools for self-mastery today. The blame shifter never asks those questions. Instead of seeking truth, they seek excuses. Instead of correcting themselves, they search for someone else to accuse. At first, you may feel sympathy for them. But spend enough time around someone who refuses accountability, and you'll begin to notice something unsettling. Excuses become normal. Standards begin to slip. You start justifying your own mistakes. This is why the Stoics were careful about the influence of those around them. Character is shaped through repeated exposure. If you're surrounded by people who avoid responsibility, you'll eventually find yourself doing the same. The wisdom of Epictetus' lessons reminds us that while we cannot control external events, we always control our response to them. That simple principle changes everything. A Stoic asks, "What can I learn from this?" A blame shifter asks, "Whose fault is this?" One question creates growth, the other creates stagnation. Life will never be perfectly fair. Marcus Aurelius knew this. Seneca knew this. Epictetus knew this. Yet none of them built their philosophy around fairness. They built it around virtue, around courage, around self-discipline, around choosing the right response regardless of the circumstances. That is the essence of Stoic wisdom. The moment you stop blaming the world is the moment you begin transforming your life. You become calm under pressure because you stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed. You develop emotional mastery because your reactions become intentional instead of impulsive. You experience genuine mindset transformation because your attention shifts from excuses to action. The blame shifter will always look for someone else to carry their burden. Don't let that someone be you. Walk with people who own their mistakes, learn from failure, and rise stronger after every setback. Because the seventh and final person is the most dangerous of all. Unlike the others, they don't just influence your decisions. They slowly convince you to become someone you're not, and many people never realize it's happening until it's too late. Person 7. The person who pulls you away from virtue, the seventh, and by far the most dangerous person Marcus Aurelius would urge you to avoid, is the one who slowly pulls you away from your values. This person isn't always cruel. They aren't always dishonest. In fact, they may be charismatic, entertaining, successful, or even someone you deeply care about. That's what makes them so dangerous. They don't destroy your character overnight. They do it one compromise at a time, one bad habit, one excuse, one poor decision, one moment of weakness that slowly becomes a way of life. Marcus Aurelius believed that your character is your greatest possession. Wealth can disappear, status can be taken away, health may decline. But your virtue, your wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control is what defines who you truly are. The wrong person doesn't have to convince you to commit great wrongs. They simply encourage you to ignore the small ones. It's just one lie. Everyone does it. You're overthinking it. Live a little. Little by little, your standards begin to fall. You stop speaking with honesty. You stop keeping your promises. You stop respecting your own discipline. Eventually, you wake up and realize you're living a life that no longer reflects the person you wanted to become. This is why Stoic philosophy places such enormous importance on choosing your companions wisely. Every relationship is shaping you in some way. Every conversation influences your thinking. Every habit you tolerate becomes a habit you're more likely to adopt. As the Marcus Aurelius teachings remind us, the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your thoughts, and those thoughts are constantly influenced by the people closest to you. Seneca quotes often emphasize that we become like those we spend our time with. If you walk with people who value integrity, you'll naturally strengthen your own. If you walk with people who glorify shortcuts, deception, and indulgence, you'll eventually begin justifying those behaviors yourself. The same lesson appears throughout Epictetus' lessons. He taught that freedom begins when you stop allowing external influences to govern your inner life. Think about the strongest tree in a forest. It doesn't become strong because the weather is always calm. It becomes strong because its roots are deep enough to withstand every storm. Your values are those roots. Without them, every opinion can move you. Every temptation can distract you. Every toxic influence can reshape your identity. But when your character is firmly rooted in ancient wisdom, you no longer seek approval from people who are lost themselves. You seek alignment with your principles. You choose honesty over popularity, discipline over comfort, purpose over distraction, and peace over approval. That is true self-mastery. That is how you master your mind, control your emotions, and cultivate the kind of mental resilience that no circumstance can break. Remember this, the people around you are either helping you become your highest self or quietly leading you away from it. Choose carefully. Because your future is often hidden inside the company you keep. Marcus Aurelius never taught us to hate people. He taught us to understand human nature. The purpose of recognizing these 7 dangerous types of people isn't to become cynical or distrustful. It's to become discerning. There is a profound difference. A Stoic doesn't isolate from the world. A Stoic learns to engage with the world without surrendering their peace. Throughout history, Stoic wisdom has reminded us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can always control who we allow to influence our minds. That's where true freedom begins. The constant complainer teaches you to value gratitude. The manipulator reminds you to guard your judgment. The comfort seeker challenges you to embrace growth. The gossip reveals the importance of integrity. The envious person teaches you humility and focus. The blame shifter reminds you to take responsibility. And the person who pulls you away from virtue reminds you that your character is your greatest achievement. These lessons are not just ancient wisdom, they are timeless wisdom. They're as relevant in today's world as they were nearly 2,000 years ago. If you practice them consistently, you'll discover something remarkable. You'll become harder to manipulate. More calm under pressure, more disciplined, more resilient. You'll experience deeper inner peace, stronger emotional mastery, and the kind of mindset transformation that changes every area of your life. This is the heart of daily Stoicism. Not simply reading philosophy, living it every single day, because the greatest battle you'll ever fight is not against difficult people, it's against becoming one of them. If this video helped you see people and yourself in a new light, don't let these lessons end here. Take one moment today to reflect on your own circle. Ask yourself, who is helping me grow and who is quietly pulling me away from the person I want to become? Sometimes a single honest answer can change the direction of your entire life. If you enjoyed this exploration of Marcus Aurelius' teachings, Stoic philosophy, and practical wisdom for life, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next lesson on Daily Stoicism, Seneca quotes, Epictetus lessons, and the timeless principles that help you build discipline, master your mind, and achieve lasting personal growth. And before you go, leave a comment below. Which of these 7 people have you encountered most often, and what Stoic lesson helped you deal with them? Your experience might be the encouragement someone else needs to read today. Until next time, remember the words that define the Stoic path. Guard your character. Protect your peace. Choose virtue over comfort, because a disciplined mind is a free mind.